We are live. See what I like to did there? Like I dropped that little thumbnail in because I forgot I hit it before the start. But we're live here Thursday night, Star Wars Newsnet live. And Star Wars is the one thing in the entire known universe that could have gotten me away from my TV over there in the other room from the first, NFL game of the season. This is the only thing that could have done that. Nothing work related, nothing else. Girlfriend calls in a crisis. Maybe the phone's on do not disturb or something like that, and the NFL. But Star Wars takes precedence over everything. My professor, even tonight in my night class, said, you know what, guys, normally we go a little bit longer, but 7:40 right now, and it's the first night of NFL season, so we gotta get going. Like we gotta head out. And I was like, thank you, sir. Like I did not want to sit through 30 more minutes of a lecture while also, after teaching all day. So we are here. We are talking Star Wars. We have a few quick hitters this evening, ranging from Ewan McGregor getting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame soon to Ahsoka, going to be filming summer of 2025, which I expected, to I want to talk really quickly about our Monday podcast as well that Miguel and I did with our Keanu Reeves discussion. And then we'll get into the main topic of the evening, which will be 2024, the rest of 2024. What are we looking forward to the most in Star Wars? I must admit, there are two things that I am looking forward to the most that either have not been announced or we think they could still happen, but we have no date or any news of thus far. So just to let you guys get a little bit of a hint into where I'm leaning this evening in regards to my most anticipated list, I also think that I can guess both of yours without having done any, talking to you before, but we'll see if I am correct whenever we get going. But let's go ahead and get started here. My name is Tyler. Welcome into Star Wars Newsnet Live. I am joined, as always, by my Jedi Master, good friend Luke, hailing from the state of Indiana. And just across, I guess, how far away is Hawaii from here, I guess? Outside continental USA, Jay, on back-to-back weeks. He said, Miguel, get out of here. We don't want to hear you talk this week. I'm taking over for you again. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Great.
Doing well.
I mean, we could be watching football, but no, we're here.
He said we could actually be having a good time, but we're here. Wow, that's tough. That's tough. Good week so far, gentlemen. Good week. Anything noteworthy going on in your lives that you would like to share with the world?
Well, we're sending out save the dates for my wedding, so those are finally going in the mail tomorrow. So those are big. Put the stamps on them today.
Am I receiving one of those? Is there all of my name
and
on
you have a very special sticker on the back of it.
Ooh, a special sticker on the back of it. Is it like Omega or something?
That is not.
It is not Omega. I don't want it then. Sorry. Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm just kidding. I love you. And here we go. Ewan McGregor gets his Hollywood Walk of Fame star. So my quick question for you both is, what is your favorite Ewan McGregor Star Wars moment? What is your favorite Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi moment in Star Wars? We are talking about one of the most iconic characters in the entire saga, from the Phantom Menace to the Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, to making his way in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I have stalled as long as I can. Luke, what is your favorite Ewan McGregor moment from Star Wars?
So this one should surprise people. It's not a famous scene at all that anyone ever talks about, but it is Attack of the Clones, and it's the beginning of the movie. And we have Padme resting, Anakin and Obi-Wan are guarding, and Anakin saying, I can sense everything going on in that room, Master. And he goes, your senses couldn't possibly be that attuned. And he goes, and yours are? And Obi-Wan goes, possibly. It's my favorite little interaction.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's very
he says it like that, or is it because he's got like the flowing like mullet going on type
The
haircut?
mullet and the line delivery are perfection.
Perfection.
Possibly.
What is your favorite Ewan McGregor moment in Star Wars?
dude. Okay, you know what's funny was I was gonna go Attack of the Clones too. And I think I was even like I didn't even select an actual like moment. I was just gonna say his mullet.
It's
Like
like just the
mullet
look. It's
itself.
just the look. It has nothing to do with the like a line delivery. It's just the
No,
look.
yeah, like because if you think about it, like why does he
Right.
have a mullet? Like why does a Jedi have like a mullet? And you know he looked like most people who like have a mullet look ridiculous. I'm gonna say it like right now, like I think like it looks ridiculous on most people. Somehow Ewan McGregor
Talking
pulls
about
it
white
off.
Jesus here. I mean, let's be real. And okay,
We
that's
set
fair.
up a shrine. We set up a shrine, and pray to Obi-Wan Kenobi as our Jesus.
It's so this is like an interesting question because obviously the prequels are where we get so much of like these great, moments with Ewan.
Yeah.
But like honestly, I legitimately, and this is maybe blasphemy for some people, but I think my legitimate favorite Ewan moment is in the Kenobi show.
Oh,
Because for prequels to me, I just love Hayden's performance in Revenge of the Sith.
yeah.
And in Attack of the Clones, Ewan is awesome, but that movie just doesn't hit for me as hard. And for me, it's that like the moments in Kenobi where we get him lifting the rocks in that moment, and then him apologizing to Anakin, like, I'm sorry, Anakin, for all of it. And that moment where he kind of is able to move on. Like, I just really appreciate that scene. But also, I guess, and this is me just cherry picking Kenobi moments now at this point, but I just love the scenes where he's interacting with Leia, like young Leia as well.
Yeah.
And to me, I am just as the Kenobi show to me had one of the best stories. I think it has the best story in all of Disney Plus Star Wars, maybe, but just visually, it's lacking in so many like areas that I think that's what really brings it down. But I really appreciate the story, and you guys have to say this is Issa, one of my
What's up,
students
Issa?
from
Hi, Issa.
5th period. She's a wonderful, wonderful child. Absolutely love. I just told Jay this, Luke, and I'll say this. I legitimately believe this year. I think that I love my job, but you also know that there's kids out there that drive a teacher insane. Like this insanity is real. But I told Jay this before you hopped on. I said like this year, legitimately, it's early still. We'll see, but overall, I think this is my favorite just crop of students like I've ever had, just in terms of like energy level, being engaged, being willing to learn, being excited to come to school every day, just like genuine good interactions, good vibes that I'm getting in the school every day. Like it's truly like it's been a
That's
wonderful year so
impressive.
far. And
All
Issa
thanks
is
to
a part of
Issa.
that. So that is what we love to see. Next thing here, Ahsoka begins filming summer of 2025. I am not surprised by this. This is kind of what we were anticipating. I think if you've been following these schedules, was probably going to be filming late spring at the earliest, but most likely early, summer 25. Here is my question to you. At what point do these studios finally realize that it is just insane for there to be 2 to 3 years in between these 8 episode seasons of television when most of the television audience still remembers the days where we're getting 25 episode seasons every single year? And obviously the climate has changed, the industry has changed, but they have to figure out a way to give us our shows before, like, for instance, Miguel and I were talking about this the other day. When Rings of Power finishes, it's going to be, it's 5 seasons, 2 years in between, 10 years for this 5 episode show. House of the Dragon is going to be going on for 8, 9 years. We're going to have 2 seasons of Ahsoka and 3 years in between when these seasons come out. It's just ridiculous at this point, especially when probably half the episodes in Ahsoka are going to be 28 to 33 minutes long. So when do you guys think studios will start to figure this out, adjust, or do we just have to get used to this for the next decade?
I think it's something that we just have to get used to
Mhm.
because, I do agree with you. It is really frustrating to get, content that is so spread out and that, like, you have to, whenever there's a new season of anything that comes out, you kind of have to even just rewatch. Like, it's almost necessary to rewatch the past season because so much time has passed that you forgot what happened. Um,
Right.
but I do think that we're at a time where now in TV, quality um, is much more important than quantity. I mean, back when we had the 23 episode seasons, not even that long ago, I'm thinking back to like the CW and the Flash and Arrow when those shows are going on. Those had 23 episode seasons.
Right.
Granted, the quality wasn't always that great though. Now we're at a time when, like, we do need, unfortunately, sometimes 2, even 3 year gaps in between every season, just so that the quality can be on par. We're talking, like, writing, we're talking performances, getting the right actors and getting the
I'm
right
gonna have
visual
to push
effects and
back.
all that.
2 years for the writing, like 2 years. We have a team of writers in two
Okay,
years to get the writing down. Like I'm asking my students to churn out an essay in a week, and we're gonna make revisions on that. And some of them can write a dang good essay in 2 days. Surely
well, okay,
professional
sure.
writers can write me a good show in
It, but at
three
the same
months.
time, like that's not gonna happen if they're always on strike.
Well, the strikes definitely had something to do
Yeah,
with this, but we were
for sure.
having these long, turnaround times before then. Like
Right.
this isn't new.
Yeah.
And
No, I mean, yeah.
like, what do you mean by quality, though, too, in terms of the show itself? Because I would
Well,
argue that just because we have 8 episodes and it's all plot driven, to me, that takes away from the quality of a show. Like, I love being able to take my time getting to know characters and having like episodes that don't necessarily push forward some big plot, but they take me on like a fun side journey that develop those characters to meet something later on.
mhm,
Like I don't necessarily need the stakes to be that raised all the time. Like some of the episodes of The Mandalorian feel that way for me, where some of my favorite episodes were like season 1, episode 6, where they are with his old gang trying to break one of them out, the Twi'lek, out
sure.
of the prison. And that didn't necessarily push the plot of Mando forward. But that's my favorite episode of the season, just because it was just a really fun time. And I don't want to lose that completely, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I think that I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum because, like, I'm totally against like filler episodes. I'm totally against episodes where it's just you going on an adventure of the characters and it doesn't move the plot forward. I'm actually very against that. So I don't know. Maybe like we could just be on the opposite ends of, like, TV preferences, which is cool.
Fair, but like you said, you love Strange New Worlds, right? Like you're enjoying Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
right.
Yes, yeah. I enjoyed it.
There are
Yeah,
half those, like that show doesn't have a
yeah.
plot per se. There's
No,
other like woven plot threads throughout, but
yeah,
just because like this character goes on this mission over here and it's not related to the main theme doesn't mean that what he experiences or the things that happen there won't play a part in their journey. I think that streaming,
sure.
and this is going to make me sound 20 years older than I am, but I think streaming has brainwashed people to some degree to think that this plot needs to be developed in front of me
You saying
immediately,
I'm
like right
brainwashed?
now. I am saying that not that you are brainwashed, but I am saying that I feel like part of the TV experience is being able
Being
to
lost.
have these episodes go forward.
Okay.
And there's always been shows that had Like it was super plot heavy the whole time. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is I don't want us to have these shortened seasons to the point where we lose all of it. Like where it's only these
Okay.
super plot driven episodes where everything has to be 5 to 8 episodes because we're not going to have a single episode that maybe takes a deep breath for a minute. Like, you know what I mean? And then like Luke, get in here, and then Jay, you finish this out here.
I am a lot more on the side. With Tyler, like,
Oh wow.
um,
Okay.
I think I simply going back to like the very beginning of like the question, like I do think it's kind of ridiculous that we are waiting until the summer of 25 to start production on season 2 when it and maybe I'm making just some huge crazy assumptions here, but it felt like at the end of season 1 how that episode 8 ends. It's like, well, Filoni, he's cooking something else up really big. He's launching us into season 2 with this finger pointing and the Mortis gods and stuff. So it's like it makes me at least feel like Filoni, like the creators knew what they were going for. Like they know what season 2 is going to be. So what was the holdup then? It feels like like why? What is going on? I don't think we should have to get used to 3 years between seasons, especially when they are 28 to 33-minute episodes, only 8 episodes. And hey, I'm not someone who makes shows for a living.
Right.
I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it's clearly not how television has been for decades. And now all of a sudden streaming is introduced and seems like nobody is really killing it in the streaming game, like money wise or views wise. Like it's really disrupted viewership and just the ways people consume media. So,
Well, think
yeah,
about when someone gets an entire season of content, and like Netflix changed the game on this, where people then got used to watching point A all the way to point Z in 4 or 5 days or a week, however long they were binging this, instead of that being stretched out. And we talk about, oh, here's the high points of show, like what the season premiere did this, and the season finale did this, and one other high point, and we forget about like some of these big moments.
Absolutely.
That's why Mando season 2, episode 1 on Tatooine is what I think an amazing episode. It's a top 3 or 4 episode of The Mandalorian. But if we had gotten, all of Mando churned out at once, no one would have ever talked about that episode. Like it wouldn't get brought up at all because we'd be talking about Luke Skywalker for forever.
I mean,
Jay,
I don't know about that. We still talk about season 2, episode 1. I don't think it
right,
would have got
like,
buried.
but these episodes have time to like marinate for a little while.
That's true.
And then because you go to that and then one more episode, but you have all these weeks in between, you might go rewatch that episode that you just saw versus if I gave you all 8 episodes of The Mandalorian, are you going back
You're
to
not rewatching episode 1.
Tatooine?
Yeah.
Or are you going to rewatch that last 2 episodes or the Boba fight scene at the end and just keep getting that Luke Skywalker adrenaline rush in your DNA?
And I consume shows really weirdly. I hardly ever rewatch single episodes. I pretty much do a season watch through at a time. So it's also opened up just really weird different ways to watch content. So yeah.
What about you, Jay?
No, I mean, I think I'm on complete opposite end of the spectrum with both of you guys. I really think that, like, I could be wrong, and I could maybe everyone, like the majority of people are like you guys who prefer the original like format of watching television. But I'll be honest with you all, like I was not a big television watcher before streaming. Now that streaming has, been streamlined, like sorry for the pun. Now that like we have Disney Plus and that, and I'll address some points. Like Luke, you brought up a good point. Episodes are just like 28, 35 minutes long. Yeah, that's frustrating. But at the same time, I'm on the opposite end because like unlike you guys, like I actually do prefer the all episodes at once. So I can go and like watch it at my own pace. I don't have to wait till next week. I actually do prefer, like these seasons where it's just maybe 8 episodes. I don't like because I remember like having to I was a bit like the only big piece of like really big memorable television I watched in my youth was actually like the DC television shows like Gotham, like Arrow, Flash, and I remember having to wait like like I remember watching those series and just wishing like they were shortened. They didn't have to be 23 episodes, and I wish like it it wouldn't just like go on for like week after week. And I wish I could watch like two at a time and that they were shorter. So I don't know. Maybe it's me going back and like looking at it being like, oh, I wish it was how it is right now, you know. But I think that there are two different sides of this equation, and maybe it's okay that like I could represent some of the more modern audiences, and then maybe it's okay if you guys want to represent the more casual, like the classic audience. That's cool too.
If we got, for instance, like Game of Thrones has, and this is like, it's hard to compare anything to Game of Thrones because for a while Game of Thrones is just a masterclass in how to do both of these, have these shortened seasons of 8 to 10 episodes while also developing all of your characters, and everything in Game of Thrones feels like really plot driven. But if you think about most of the episodes, like it's a very slow moving show, because I mean Daenerys doesn't get to start sailing to Westeros until the end of the 6th season, and that's like a main plot point of the first season is the Targaryens getting back. But they make you feel like you're continuing to be in this. But I think what a lot of shows get in danger of is they want you to get from point A to point B, and then anytime they deviate, it because we are maybe shortchanged. Like with season 3 of The Mandalorian, some of the plot things felt so rushed to me because they were either all in on the plot or they were completely out of the plot. And because we know we only have these 30 minutes, like 35-minute episodes, I think we felt shortchanged because we know that there isn't enough time for them to right that ship. Versus like if Jay's saying, I want my shows to be like all at once, but like very plot driven, that's fine. But can we at least get our run times to a point where you have the ability to do both sides of the coin? Because
I
was
going to say this too.
Those episodes
I have no disagreement with that.
Yeah,
I completely agree as well.
I was going to say, I think my frustration arises when, okay, so you're only going to give us 8 episodes. It's going to be 28, 30 minutes, 40 maybe. But sometimes even those episodes, you feel like don't even hit well. It's like, oh, that one wasn't really like great. And so it's like, well, now I've only got 7 left. Or maybe you're halfway through the season. You're like, well, there's 4 left. So we just kind of like burned one. And I think that's what you're saying is like, well, shoot, we needed that one to hit because there's only 8 episodes. We don't have 20 where we can burn 5 of them. It's fine. We need all of these to hit, and they're not. I think that's what the problem is. And so like, if you're only going to give us 8, like really give us 8 great ones at least.
And I hate to be this guy that always talks about Star Trek on the Star Wars show, but there is an episode of Star Trek that I think perfectly encapsulates what you can do with episodes that are separate. And it's like this episode called Inner Light from, I'm going to educate some people right now. Inner Light, Star Trek, Next Generation. Okay. There's an episode where Captain Picard literally gets like this probe, enters his mind, and he lives a life, like a lifetime of a completely different person in another planet. In his present timeline with his ship, there's only like 30 seconds that passes. But in his mind, this probe has him live out a life of a completely other person because they had developed technology.
That's crazy.
So the technology they developed was they wanted their culture to continue to pass on. And so he lived the life of the final years of that culture. He lived like 80 years on this planet. And he learned how to play like this music, and he learned this cultural stuff. And later on in the show, when he finds a love interest who loves music, he has this music where he replicates like this specific instrument. And she's like, oh, where is that instrument played? And it's not played anywhere anymore because the culture is extinct, but he is like carrying on this legacy. It becomes a part of
cool.
him. It intersects with his, love life. It intersects with decisions he makes because he has this perspective of people who have been wiped out due to a number of causes. And so those are like ways that I think we have lost in terms of episodic storytelling, where this singular episode is great and it doesn't necessarily feel like it's moving Star Trek forward. But what it's doing is it is providing a whole new context for our character to live in moving forward. And I just don't want to ever lose that completely. I think we can find the best of
with
like
you.
both worlds though in the new age of storytelling. I will always take a moment to talk about Patrick Stewart, if I can though as well. But I'm curious now. Monday's podcast, Miguel and I gave 3 roles we want to see Keanu Reeves star in or be a part of in Star Wars. And I just want to ask you guys which of those 3 you like the most. The first one was him being like a mentor to like the first Jedi in James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie. Like picture it in your minds right now. This young person just basically discovering the Force for the first time, climbing this mountaintop because they were told there is someone up there that could assist them in this new, discovery they've made. And it's Keanu Reeves levitating on top of the mountain. And he is the one that they are seeking. Okay. Or 2, as the dark side villain in the new Rey movie. That was the second one that we talked about. Dark side villain. Maybe he is getting involved in galactic politics, trying to radicalize one system at a time, and it seems somewhat harmless, maybe something we should keep an eye on, but underneath all of it is this like dark side, even Sith cult that is developing here. Or 3, Old Republic show, maybe like at the very beginning of the High Republic or towards the end of the Old Republic. He is like the creator of this Force Kung Fu stuff that we see like in the Acolyte. Like he is the one that kind of he begins all of the martial arts, force fighting. Which of these 3 roles for Keanu would you think most suit the great Keanu Reeves and you would be most excited to see him play in Star Wars?
All right, those 3 are very good. And I'm gonna go with number 2. I think it'd be really fun to see him play a dark side villain. I was just listening to a podcast that was talking about this subject of like where they'd want to see Keanu Reeves in Star Wars, and so they had some good points too about like I think it'd be fun to see him as a dark side person. He is such a likable, just human in real life, and everyone really likes his chill vibe. And he's a great actor. So I think he's kind of at the point where he's like 60-ish now. He's like at the point where he wants to just like fun stuff. He's done the like
He's forever young.
hardcore, incredible stuff. I think this would be a really fun role for him to be a dark side enemy. I think he'd kill it. And I think if the Rey movie is kind of stumbling a little bit right now here, like in real life, it'd be awesome to bring in an actor like Keanu Reeves and attach it to the project to really just propel it forward and get this thing on screen. So I think it just in universe and out of universe, him being in that role would do wonders for Star Wars.
I like that. I can agree with all of that for sure. Jay?
I'd have to go with the Old Republic. I mean,
Old
the dude
Republic.
just fits that timeline. I think like, yeah, he just fits with the overall like established aesthetic and how like he could really just be like a cool like old wizened legendary figure who created or assisted the Jedi or who worked as a Jedi master who created a cool like kung fu like fighting stance. I think that to have him there, it will be like would please a lot of people. So I do like your idea though, Luke, about like the fact that hey, put him in the Rey movie because that will help get more people excited. But at the same time, I'm like, well, having a cool attached actor to something doesn't mean it's also gonna help it get
Not a
going.
guarantee. Yeah.
Yeah.
My personal favorite would be the Rey movie storyline, but I think Jay actually gives the one that's best for Star Wars, personally, just because if Star Wars wants to move out of the Skywalker saga on Disney Plus specifically, someone like Keanu Reeves, like if Keanu Reeves was in The Acolyte, Miguel and I were talking about this, like the initial audience is probably like triple what it ever was just because of Keanu Reeves. So if you're going to try to establish a non-main Star Wars timeline story, having Keanu maybe be on the poster for that, doing a lot of press and marketing for that would get a lot more people invested from the beginning. And if you have a good story, that should keep hopefully people coming back. And like Jay said, he fits the Old Republic. So let's get into the rest of 2024. All right. We have this thumbnail on the screen here. I did not write down everything that is currently on the slate, but I'm just going to quickly read just some different Star Wars projects or things that are coming out for the rest of this year. Of course, we have Skeleton Crew, the one show that we have coming out 2024 in December. The Mace Windu book, The Glass Abyss, where Mace is fulfilling Qui-Gon's dying wish to him. We have High Republic books like Tears of the Nameless with George Mann with Wraith Silas. We have the High Republic Lightsaber Edition reference book. We have audio drama High Republic Tempest Breaker. We have Insurgency Rising Battle of Jakku comics to round out the Imperial Galactic Civil War era leading into kind of the New Republic. And we have Rebuild the Galaxy on September 13th, the Lego special. So, obviously, there is more comics and everything going on. We just had Star Wars Outlaws come out, but we're looking forward to the next 4 months. And what are you guys specifically looking forward to the most is what I want to know. And I got two things, but I'm going to guess for each of you before we get started. So who wants to go first? I'll provide my guess for. Okay. So Jay's going first. I don't know why, but I am getting the vibes for Jay that he's looking forward to either the Mace Windu book the most, or he's just kind of done, the Acolyte was really heavy. Skeleton Crew's not doing it for him. It's the kids show. It's not necessarily for our target audience. He's ready to kick back in a week and watch Rebuild the Galaxy and just have a good old laugh about some Star Wars stuff. That's my guess. That's my guess for Jay.
You know what's funny? You're close because Rebuild the Galaxy is actually my second most anticipated thing of 2024.
What did I miss? What did I miss?
This is gonna probably come out of left field for you because I don't think you probably had this on your radar, but like I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Is the Battle of Jakku Insurgency Rising comic.
Okay.
Funny enough, I think Luke, this might be your like number one pick, and you're kind of nodding your head a bit. But like I'm not like a big comics guy. I don't follow, like the only real comics I really follow are the ones that I do for the website, that it being like the High Republic Adventures. And I kind of would like to, I've been kind of outside of the comics realm, and I kind of would like to jump back in. And I think like this could be like a great time to jump back in because, you do have all of the mainline Star Wars comics wrapping up with like issue number 50. Darth Vader wrapping up with issue number 50. Right. The mainline Star Wars, again, wrapping with number 50. But I really do love like this time period where right after episode 6, where the galaxy is just in complete chaos. Where, the Empire is gone. There's no solid, stable government. And it's like everyone's like going like, okay, what do we do now? So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think the covers look really fantastic too. So yeah,
you definitely surprised me. You surprised me with that one because I was like, Jay, I didn't go comics for you because I knew you've been kind of a little bit out of most of the comics for a while.
Right.
So this surprised me. Luke, I like to think I know your Star Wars taste like better than anyone else in the world. And I know you've been on a really
that would
big
be true.
I know you're on a really big Star Wars comic kick, but I like that. I'm not a recency bias guy, and I know that you love like to dive into Aslan Rel, and I know that you are all about the High Republic, and I know that no one else in this world that I know is more excited for High Republic books than you are in terms of like matching some excitement level. It has to be Tears of the Nameless. It's the last High Republic novel that is coming out in 2024, and I feel like it has to be Tears of the Nameless. Am I correct?
I was either going to go with that or the Insurgency Rising. So we're going to go hard with Tears of the Nameless because I also, yesterday on the day it dropped, got to read Echoes of Fear, which is by George Mann, issue 1 of that comic series, which was, I thought, very good. And this seems like the book is going to, maybe not like the comic's going to be required reading for the book, but I think it's gonna, me having read these comics is gonna make the book so much better. And so, yes, I really like George Mann. I really like what he does with comics and books. And so, any book he's writing, I'm probably gonna pick it up. And especially if this is getting close to the end of the High Republic, yeah, I
Right.
am really excited for this because we're diving apparently really heavily into what is going on with the Nameless. How does this story wrap up? Like this incredibly formidable foe that seems unbeatable is now the authors are going to try to make this thing beatable. So it's infinitely fascinating to me what
And
they're going to do in this
George
story.
Mann cooks.
He's so
George Mann
cooks.
cooks. He cooks. So yes, High Republic. It's my favorite era in Star Wars, and I say that
Yeah.
unashamed to say that. So I think I'm going to surprise both of you. I'm going to cheat when I give my answer, actually, but I personally don't think it's cheating. You're going to say it's cheating because I have two. I have two things, and one of them is cheating in your eyes because it actually hasn't been announced yet.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
think that Tales of the
I
Jedi
knew
is
it.
supposed to come out this year. It's supposed to come out this year. Like they have said that repeatedly. And I, until this January 1st hits, am going to believe that they didn't lie to our faces about Tales to the Jedi in 2024. And I know Tales of the Empire came out, but I don't believe that they would just say Tales of the Jedi and then just do this whole Tales of the Empire thing. I still think Tales of the Jedi is coming. You don't need a big trailer reveal for that. That's why they didn't show anything at D23. You could announce that in 3 weeks after, Rebuild the Galaxy's coming on. You could do that at the end of September, beginning October, and say, hey, in the first weekend of November or around Halloween week or something, we're going to drop Tales of the Jedi Season 2. And I think it's going to happen. And I'm saying that's like my number, like 2 most anticipated thing. It's my tie actually with number 1. And I'm okay
Tyler,
saying that because I feel like it's not cheating because technically it's not a real announcement yet.
I think you might. Like at first I was like, "Oh no, you're crazy. Hop off the crazy pills." But no, like after hearing your explanation, I think there's a good chance. But I think if it is gonna happen, Thanksgiving weekend is
That's what I was going to say. Thanksgiving drop.
yeah, Thanksgiving
That'd be
weekend
perfect.
is yeah. I think like that. That's like that's when you do it. So
I have a quick question for Travis before I give my number 1. And so he couldn't do the High Republic books. You have the first 7 books. So my question is, like,
which of the 7?
how many of those did you read? Or is it like I tried, like I put my heart and soul into it, like I went through these 7 books and I just could not enjoy them? I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious. Like I would love to
Yeah, I mean,
hear that.
I'm curious too. Is it like a
Or was it
combination,
like
like the
I bought the adult novels and then some young
yeah?
adult novels from
That's what I
phase
was gonna.
1,
Yeah,
something like that. But here's my number 1, and this is going to surprise both of you, I think. It's not a book, it's not a comic, it's not a reference book. It is the Daniels and Bryce Dallas Howard's episodes of Skeleton Crew. Like, I want to see what the Daniels are going to do in Star Wars on the episode they direct of Skeleton Crew, which the whole premise of the show combined with these big name directors that they have doing these episodes has me, I wouldn't say I'm like, I think this hyped is not the right word, but like intrigued is the right word. I'm really intrigued to see what are the Daniels going to do with this show. And then I said Bryce Dallas Howard because my prediction for her episode is the Mandalorian will be in her episode of Skeleton Crew. Like she's directed multiple episodes of the Mandalorian, so she obviously she's the only one in that crew that has, I believe, directed episodes of the Mandalorian, unless Rick Famuyiwa is directing an episode, which I don't believe he is for this show. And so she knows the vibes for the Mandalorian. She's obviously incredibly talented, so I think she could blend whatever the vibe for Skeleton Crew is going to be and bringing in some Mando vibes as well. So that's like my prediction for her episode, and then I just want to see what the Daniels do. So those 2 episodes are kind of what I'm looking forward to the most, just because I love Star Wars the most when I can watch it, like when I'm watching Star Wars. And so that's kind of my number 2. Or my number 1. Like I know I'm cheating by having 2, but I feel like because we technically don't have a date or any real knowledge of Tales of the Jedi season 2, that it doesn't count. Like I can slide that in there.
Sure. Can I?
They're gonna drop it December 31st, just to spite
It just dropped right now. Elzar man.
I want to also okay. So if we're doing possibilities though, I think for the rest of the year, like possible announcements, I think we've been hearing a lot about a Star Wars strategy game or like a Star Wars tactical strategy game from Respawn Entertainment. Like something along the lines of like a Total War game or like a XCOM game. I think we might actually get that at the end of this year, probably at the Game Awards. And so that is like my end of 2024 big news announcement that I'd be looking forward to. So
I would dig that. For Tales of the Rebellion, Travis, in my opinion, I feel like we have Andor, which is somewhat of a Tales of the Rebellion in a way. Plus we have Rebels itself, which is obviously very different from Andor, but we have a lot of these rebellions. So what would that look like for you? I would just in the chat drop me what Tales of the Rebellion looks like for you that would make it different from some of the other pockets of the rebellion that we've seen.
I would
love they re-release Rebels.
I could see this though. I could see even just stories centered around Poe. I'd love to see a Poe story. I'd love to see Mon
Tales
Mothma.
of the Resistance.
Is
that where that would fit in with Poe?
Well, I'm always
about he is resistance, not rebellion.
I'm not dismissing this idea. Yeah. I love any who doesn't love the rebellion in Star Wars? What would make it unique from the rebellion stories that we already have? That's what I'm I would just love
we
to
need
know,
another Luke Skywalker story.
And if it's Jedi Luke rebuilding the order with Kylo, that, sign me up for that.
I'd be down for
Travis said that they were killing Jedi off so fast. You know what? That's fair. It is so hard to get attached because they take them away from you so quickly.
Estala Maru.
Funny enough, though, when he Travis mentioned, I love the Nihil and the Nameless. I think though that those are the 2 aspects I couldn't attach to, I'm the opposite. Where I was I could attach to some of the Jedi characters, Elzar and I'm. What's the Wookiees?
Vernestra Rose.
Buryaga.
Yes.
Buryaga.
It's pronounced Vernestra.
I swear, man.
I love this comment here because I was about to go there, which is I do think we're gonna get the next Star Wars animated show announcement. Yeah. They have to be working on this, and with Andor not coming out till closer to Star Wars Celebration in April, I wonder if we're gonna have an animated show come out in February, February to May, and it kind of crosses with the first little bit of Andor and then leaves, or if they announce, hey, this is coming next fall, something like that, because that's something easy for them to do. That's an easy win, getting the next animated show out there. The animated fan base is extremely loyal. And we've talked before about what we would like to see from the animated show announcement. I'll give you one more piece of news that I would like to see. I would love for them to just go ahead and come out and say, hey, Katie Sackhoff is coming back as Bo-Katan. We can stop making her have to lie about whether or not she's been contacted, like things like that, and just go ahead and give us like a cast for this
Please.
movie, because clearly it's the only movie that's in active development. It's the only movie that has a real plan to move forward right now. And I say that sadly, like right now. So why not go all in on this movie that, because Jon Favreau is
Please.
the man and is going to make sure that this, gets done. Why not go ahead and say, hey, let's pump out some casting news. That way at Celebration, if you have a surprise cast member that's going to be in this, you bring them out then. Or you just say, hey, here everybody is together. Like, here's your cast. Like, let's go. And it's not like, oh, I have to be surprised that Katie Sackhoff's going to be Bo-Katan, which we've known. Like, go ahead and tell me Katie Sackhoff's coming in to do this. Like, give me a little bit of who is going to make up this story so I can know. And if Thrawn's going to be in it, bring him out at Celebration, or keep it a secret till the movie. Just give me some of the obvious stuff so we can stop beating around the bush and really talk about it.
When is Disney Plus Day anyways?
It's like November, isn't it? Like, isn't like
Is
like
it?
the anniversary? Is it like the anniversary of Disney Plus? Like that November 3rd or 19th, or
Yeah, I mean, I'm
it's
looking it
something
up.
like something like that.
I'm looking it up right now, and
September 8th.
yeah,
Ooh.
September 8th
hold on.
was the last time, though. Apparently.
Oh, never mind. I don't know anything. I'm
Yeah.
stupid. Don't click.
Well, it was inaugurated on November 12th. That's when Disney Plus dropped, right?
Oh, okay. They've been changing the day.
Yeah, it's been
How are
like
They've been changing the day.
so my deal. I want to know, how are they going to get us to buy into Disney Plus Day if they keep changing the dates every year? Like,
It's a good
what's
point.
up with that? Like, okay, so Travis finally put this in the comments. He said a rebellion show based on like Corona Squadron
that's
from
cool.
Lost
Yep.
Stars, showing how the pockets started becoming a whole. Take a look at other groups featured in Rogue One. What if this was like Tales of the Rebellion? And I'm gonna take Travis' idea. I'm gonna alter a little bit, like Tales of Rogue Squadron, or like Tales of like something pilots. I don't know, but like do like this purely like a pilot centric show, and just do these just mostly like these aerial combat space missions that we don't see, because we don't see a lot of those really, throughout. Even in animated like rebels, I mean, it's the Ghost, but we don't see like squadrons necessarily going at each other a ton all the time. That would be fun. Like if it was, featuring these different, I would be into that. I would be into that.
Exactly.
I'd be
I'm
into
playing
that too, yeah.
through Star Wars Squadrons right now, actually.
Oh,
So
really?
it'd be fun to have some maybe Vanguard Squadron, some Alphabet
I mean,
Squadron throw in there.
That's not a
Why not?
long that's not a long playthrough.
It is really not. But I actually never finished it, so I am finishing that as we speak.
Oh, good. I don't think I
They
finished it
changed
either,
it to keep the $2 3-month deal a secret. In terms of announcements, they really only do one or two things. That makes sense. Okay, so with that one or two thing though is going to be the Star Wars animated show. That's what we are confirming right
Better
here.
be.
Thank you, Travis. We have agreed on this. We've come to an accord. Okay. So in terms of some of the like skeleton crew, because that's going to be the big Star Wars thing that comes out this
Right.
year. Like, it's a show, it's on Disney Plus. What do you think, just projecting ahead, and like, how is this show going to be the best version of itself and like appeal to like the audience that it's wanting to? Like, what does this show need to do to be considered a a success, both from like a numbers standpoint, but also from I hate to say this, like an acceptance standpoint?
I'll tell you what, they're already they're doing one thing that I think is really smart, and it's the release timing. Everyone's saying that it's coming out around Christmas. That's when people are gonna be together with their families. But at the same time, like, it's also coming out at a time when Netflix isn't with Stranger Things and some of those other shows that are targeted towards like little kids and towards like that coming of age story. Like, those shows aren't being released around the time of the Skeleton Crew. So I think
Mhm.
Skeleton Crew is actually doing like found a perfect like release window where it's like nothing like it is really that I'm thinking of
Right.
is really coming out around that same time.
It does provide like that wholesome like nature and everything. I just wonder, and I'm usually the Luke. I'm going to require you to pull me out of this in a moment. Okay, I'm going to require you to reach down and pull me out of the darkness. Is Star Wars does Star Wars have a brand in 2024 that appeals to families sitting around and using their family time to watch Skeleton Crew? Like, does Star Wars have a brand that's going to appeal to plenty of families to sit around and say, let's watch like this new Star Wars show instead of X, Y, and Z that's going to be out on streaming that could appeal to their kids or families? Like, I just wonder if the brand feels at its weakest point that it's been in since the Disney acquisition of Star Wars, and probably since maybe when the Clone Wars movie came out and people were upset about that, or the first season of Clone Wars. I don't know, like people hated. There was so much hatred around the prequels, and there was like a lot of vitriol. But we don't have social media at the point that it was obviously then to drive that conversation to where someone who hasn't even watched The Acolyte or read anything about it is telling me 3 weeks in that, oh, I heard that show is X, Y, and Z. And some of it is like, yeah, it's not the best show in the world, perhaps. But also some of it's like, no, that's completely off base. Like I just feel like the brand is at its weakest point. So I'm curious, do you guys think that the Star Wars brand can actually support like good numbers for a family show at this point in time? For this show specifically, which I don't know offers any appeal to a casual Star Wars fan.
I'm gonna go with yes. I think Star Wars has been trying to do projects that are outside of its brand with like Andor and the Acolyte, which have felt a little bit more geared toward adults and a little bit heavier and a little bit darker. And that's not really what Star Wars is. I think what Skeleton, and I haven't seen the show, I don't know what the show is, but I do think from what we've seen in the trailer that Skeleton Crew seems to be lighter, seems to be a little bit funnier, seems to be a little bit more family centric. So I think Star Wars maybe hasn't branded itself in the past
Mhm.
couple of years correctly or in line with what it truly is. It's been taking some adventures outside of what it normally does. I think Skeleton Crew is going to be right back in the pocket of what Star Wars is. And so I'm hoping general people, audiences take a chance on it. Watch the trailer once and you'll be good. You'll see, okay, this is the Star Wars that I grew up with. This is what I know. This kind of feels like what I remember Star Wars to be. This isn't some new experimentation within the bounds of Star Wars or within this
Mhm.
universe. I think you just watch a trailer once and you should be like, okay, this I think I know what I'm going to get from this show. It's going to give it to you, and I think you're going to
Okay.
be fine. I think this really could bring people back to Star Wars. I think it could hit pretty well. That it's not trying to be something different. It's going to give you
You
Star
almost
Wars that
you
you
almost
knew.
had me. You almost had me. You but the problem here, and then Jay, tell me if I'm wrong. The Acolyte was supposed to appeal to everybody. Like it was supposed to.
Mhm.
Like that show, I felt like it was dark enough to appeal to your adults. Like you have this dark side component, but it was also supposed to be funny, and lighthearted at times. It was supposed to be like almost like prequely good time vibes with a tragic story that appeals to a large like multi-generational audience. And it did fail tremendously to do that on a wide scale. Uh, Jay, pull me further out of darkness or just plunge me further down?
No, I mean I think you're right because I mean yeah, like I get what you're saying, Luke, but at the same time, like I never really got the feeling that the Acolyte was like as dark as I wanted it to be, and like that it was like a mature show that was kind of more targeted for adults. But that being said, though, I do agree though that Star Wars I think still does have a lasting appeal that does still attract people younger than us. And I think Tyler, you deal with kids on a day-to-day basis, and even you find that these kids still enjoy Star Wars. I will say though, I just checked, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 comes out around the same time, so we might be cooked.
We
I
might be
do think
cooked.
the movie. I don't know if you can compare like the movie to the streaming.
Right, of course.
Like,
No.
I mean, like House of the Dragons pulling great streaming numbers while you have, what you call it, like Deadpool Wolverine,
and
like
Deadpool,
coming
yeah.
out. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say that's like a correlation. I think the bigger thing's gonna be the biggest thing is gonna be Disney battling the Sonic versus Mufasa battle at the box office, which come out the same weekend. That I'm serious, like that's gonna be the
Yeah,
real battle of
yeah.
which movie do families take their kids to go see.
Sonic King.
Yeah, I mean,
I-
it's
I
gonna be
would-
Sonic. I think so.
I disagree.
Double
I
feature, let's
disagree.
go.
No, come on.
I'm-
Okay, Tyler. I think you're underestimating the.
You're underestimating
the
how
gaming
foundational
audience.
Lion King was to Tyler.
I love the Lion King. I think that you're underestimating the brand of the Lion King. Like that movie made $1 billion. Like
that's true.
reimagined, it made over $1 billion. It's one of the like 12 highest grossing movies of all time. So I think like just the brand of that plus the Disney brand on top of it, I think will smash like Sonic. I think it will like double Sonic. Like,
But does it
personally.
have Shadow though?
It does not have Shadow, but it has Scar.
Yeah, but can Scar
Fair point,
like
fair
pump
point.
a MP5K?
He doesn't have to because he has a legion of hyenas. I'm not saying that it's gonna be a better movie than the Sonic.
course not,
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I think I will be seated at Mufasa and I will be unashamed to. I think it's low key gonna be good. Like I'm not gonna lie. Here's my thing, and this is like not Star Wars related. You know what I don't like though is the animation style that they're using for like the reimagining of the Lion King stuff. And I didn't like this about the last one they made is that style I don't think plays well into animals. Like I don't think you're able to see like what makes the original Lion King so good is the expressions are more human like even though they're animals and you don't care because you're already watching a movie with a talking lion. Like you don't care if it has a human-like expression. You don't see those emotions and things with the way that they do these new ones. And I think that's why when I saw it, it didn't really hit as much for me because they're almost making it too real, too realistic.
I would agree.
That's my Tim Brain. Also, we're in the 57-minute mark. So I have to give a rant real quick. And Luke didn't remind me about this. I told him to remind me about this.
Darn it.
So I was in Oklahoma for Labor Day weekend. How you guys are collectors to some degree, right?
To some
Like you guys are collectors, right?
Yeah.
Like you have action figures, you have collectibles that you like. Any collector treasures their things. So I grew up with a ton of Star Wars action figures, like a ton. Some of these I had no idea were like these incredible incredible treasures. Like I have action figures from the original like 1977. Like these are in like the Children's Toy Museum Hall of Fame. So my friend comes over and some of their kids come over and my mother goes, Tyler, why don't you bring down those old Star Wars action figures for the kids? And I'm thinking to myself, some of those like are in boxes, like protected in their boxes. Some of them haven't been played with in years. And I don't want to be played with in years unless it's monitored by me. And I can like tell this child like, no. And I'm also like, I don't know these kids. Like, I don't know if they're going to tear these things apart. But what am I supposed to say when my mom tells these kids, well, if Tyler says no, I'm sorry, you can't play. They're like, oh, okay. Like, what am I supposed to do? Tell these kids, hey, as a 27-year-old grown man adult, I don't want you playing with my toys. Like, come on. Like, I can't say that. Like, it's a no-win situation. So I go down, I get my Star Wars toys. I get my collectibles. I get the stuff. I put it down. Somehow, my vintage Biggs Darklighter action figure that was still in the box. Like, I didn't know it was in there. I look over a few minutes later, and I see Biggs' box is torn apart. and I see the original, the very first Lando Calrissian action figure. He's in a full splits mode with his hands and arms like above his head, like he's at like a disco party. And my insides are churning. They are churning because I can't run over there and be like, "Do you know, kids, what you got here? It's a 1980 action figure from Lando Calrissian." No, I can't do that. I have to sit there and watch it unfold. And I'm just praying to the Force, to the old gods and new, that this does not turn into like Lando's head being severed from the rest of his plastic body. Anyway,
That's
would have
hard
just-
to watch.
I would have just said like, oh well, yeah, exactly what my mom said. Sorry, I can't play with my toys.
but
You're the bad guy then.
You're a
because
better person than me. Like you're a stronger man than I. Like I would have never been able. I looked at like the kids were like we want to play, and I'm like sitting here going, I'm like I cannot be the adult that says you can't play with my toys. Like I just can't do it. Fabiola, hello. 6th period. Amazing class, by the way. 6th period, top tier. Anyway,
Top tier.
top tier.
I will say I have a little nephew who comes over and wants to
Travis.
play with like Star Wars lightsabers that I have. He might never be allowed to touch the Galaxy's Edge saber that we have right here.
No.
He just might never get that opportunity.
Like, oh my goodness, it's there like a menace. Like I love kids, obviously. Like I'm a teacher. I volunteer my time with children. You know, I have made a career path out of, you know, interacting with teenagers and young kids, but I must say that I was terrified in this moment. So there's that. I had to get that. I had to get that
Very
off my.
selfless of you.
I wouldn't say that.
was a Jedi
It was
move.
not out of the kindness of my heart. It was out of I don't want to like look like a dick right now. Really, I don't want to look like a loser.
I don't feel
blackmail
like,
it was.
nah, I'm a dick. I'm not letting you touch any of that stuff. Sorry.
That's
Like,
fair. That's fair. So, real quick, let's recap, you know, everything going on in the Star Wars universe before we get out of here. Ahsoka not filming till 2025. We hit on that. I was able to spread the gospel of Patrick Stewart's episode of The Inner Light from Star Trek Next Generation. But yeah, that was a great discussion tonight, guys. Really appreciate what we're looking forward to in 2024. I'm sad that I couldn't get 100% accuracy on both of yours. Jay had to surprise me a little bit there. But couple things on Star Wars Newsnet to be aware of. Tomorrow, you can get our character spotlight piece from Josh. Oh my gosh, I about blanked there. From Josh. Every Friday, he drops a character spotlight article that's really insightful about like these B, C, and D tier characters that you might not know a ton about. So make sure you check that out. On Sunday, I guarantee you are going to want to read Miguel's Sunday piece on the website, StarWarsNewsNet.com. A galaxy far, far away. He does it every Sunday. You're going to want to read this one. And I don't want to talk about like what he's writing. I just think you're going to really enjoy, maybe not enjoy. It's going to be very insightful. I think it's going to be worth your read. I always say it's the best read of my week in terms of Star Wars. And honestly, there's so much trash out there to read anyway that Miguel's piece is easily one of the best things that you'll read. Luke, tell us a little bit about the Star Wars Timeline show that will come out again on Saturday, assuming we record tomorrow.
Assuming we do. This is our passion project Tyler and I are doing, where we cover each and every story that is in the canon timeline of Star Wars. So you're going to catch us talking about Young Jedi Adventures here coming up on Sunday. So really, really fun episode. I'm sure cooking for you that we'll just have a good time talking about some children's show content. So yeah.
I am in love with the Star Wars Timeline show. Jay, tell us about what we can expect on the podcast and YouTube channel for Monday.
Yes, Monday will be a spoiler review discussion of Star Wars Outlaws. Nate and myself and Miguel, we both made our way through and completed Star Wars Outlaws, and we have a lot of thoughts on the game overall, from everything from the story to the gameplay. And so that will be going up on Monday. It's a great discussion. Both of them were really passionate about it, and it was a lot of fun.
And if you aren't ready for a spoiler review yet, make sure you can still go back and watch Jay's non-spoiler review on YouTube of the game. Make sure you do that because he did a fantastic job. Jay, though, also give us like a quick rundown of your personal YouTube channel, Good Games Dude.
I'd be happy to. Good Games Dude is my own YouTube gaming channel where I help out just newcomers and video game experts growing their appreciation of video games. So if you're looking for a more positive place to talk about video games, whether it be through reviews or if you want to look back at the history of video games, please check that out. My most recent video is on Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And I talk about why that is a gaming essential and why it is included on so many video game best video games of all time lists. So go ahead and check that out as well, please. And I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us in the comments this evening. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We bring you 3 podcasts a week here on Star Wars Newsnet. Thankfully, I have not had to stress about recording a Monday show 2 of the last 3 weeks. So that's honestly been a little bit of a nice little break. So make sure you check out the Monday show with Jay, Nate, and Miguel doing Star Wars Outlaws. Luke and I always bring you a timeline show every single Saturday. And then you can always check out the Star Wars Newsnet live show Thursday nights, 10 o'clock Eastern time, or I'll have the audio up Friday mornings as always. Gentlemen, any final words before we get out of here?
I will just say one thing we didn't cover super deeply, and I'm not going to go off on too big of a tangent, is the Glass Abyss book. I think I've read the overview for that on Amazon or wherever you can find the overview. It looks really good. I'm really interested. So I'm excited to see what Steve Barnes is cooking. I'll hopefully be picking that up.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic 3 has Keanu Reeves as Shadow the Hedgehog, so I think
the Sonic, let the Sonic and Mufasa wars begin. Wow, fantastic. So, everyone, for Light and Life, remember, everyone, we are all the Republic. Until